Welcome to Philosophy from the Frontline. This podcast explores the intersection of philosophy, entrepreneurship, and veteran transition. Join us as we delve into the minds of successful entrepreneurs who have made the journey from military service into small business ownership. Our guests will share their insights, experience, and unique perspectives on life, business, and the world around us. Through deep conversations and thought-provoking discussions, we hope to inspire and empower our listeners to tackle their own challenges and achieve their dreams. So sit back, relax, and get ready to explore the world of entrepreneurship from a veteran's point of view. This is Philosophy from the Frontline, and we'll see you on the high ground. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Philosophy from the Frontline. This is episode number 99. Returning guest, and it's not like a panel discussion. We've got Lino Miani here from the Combat Diver Foundation. Lino, it has been a while since we last chatted. We tried to catch up at Soft Week, and in typical fashion at a trade show, it's a half-hearted attempt because there's so much stuff going on that you never really get a chance to just sit down and chat. So we're going to follow up. But one of the other things is I saw the numbers the past couple of weeks, and people have been looking at the previous version of this conversation. So let's give them something new. Lino, how you doing? And let's talk about what's happening with the Combat Diver Foundation.
Well, I kind of laugh at your intro categorizes me as someone that's successfully transitioned because I'm 10 years on. I'm kind of not sure about that, but it was cool catching up with you at Soft Week. I mean, I'm glad you found us at the Waffle House that morning. I'm pretty predictable that way, so it was cool having breakfast, however brief it was.
Yeah, it really was. And so, lots of new things going on with the CDF. You had some pretty big events in the fall last year. So could you highlight some of those and talk about what's happening and what relationships were built there? Because I mean, that's the whole point of the Combat Diver Foundation is not just to, capture the history of the Combat Diver Foundation, but connect people of all those different communities over time. And one of the things that I was listening to a radio show the other day, and they were talking about how, combat divers cleared so much of the trenches or so much of the pathway for D-Day, and it was a completely unknown, not very talked about mission. So it's interesting that you're trying to capture that history, but tell us about the cruise. I mean, I saw the pictures, but how did that go? And just,
Yeah, so the winter cruise has actually become my 100% favorite event that we do every year because the way it started is we got a donation of a sunset cruise from Sunset Cruise Key West. And so these guys, well, they have several sailing vessels, but one of them was General Patton's yacht, the When and If. So General Patton commissioned this thing. It was built by a very famous yacht designer who designed racing boats. It's made out of solid teak. I mean, it's amazing. And so the general had commissioned that in order to sail around the world after the war with his wife. Well, he never made it. He got killed in a car accident in Luxembourg. But the boat has ended up in the hands of Seth at Sunset Sail Key West. And he donated this cruise to us. And so we were kind of like, well, what are we going to do with this Sunset Cruise? Well, let's turn it into an event. We have been trying to build relationships with the Key West community for some time for obvious reasons. And so that just seemed like a good way to do it. So we had an event, and I kind of reached a little bit and invited the SEAC, the senior enlisted advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, who at the time was Ray Colon Lopez. He's a combat diver and Air Force PJ and a fantastic person. So if you remember back to the Milley era, General Milley era of the Pentagon, I mean, Ray was there and on the right hand of the chairman all those times, and he was the positive energy in that relationship, right? And so I thought he brought a tremendously good thing to the Pentagon at a really tricky time, and I wanted to get to know him. Yeah. And so I reached out to his office and said, "Hey, would SEAC Colon Lopez be interested in attending this event?" And so he said yes. And so we had the event. And so what we decided to do with it was, instead of making it a fundraiser, because that's sort of turning a social event into a fundraiser ups the pressure a little bit, not just on us to organize a good event, but on the guests to who we're asking to write checks. And so we didn't really feel like we were ready to do that. We just wanted to have SEAC there and pick his brain about combat diver history and his own journey and his thoughts on the whole thing. All the comments were off the record. And so having him in the room in a sort of an intimate setting, we had a cocktail reception. He gave some remarks, and then we got on the boat, just had a good time. The size of that crowd, it's about 30 people max that can fit on the boat safely. Oh. And so at that size, with him and his personality, it just, everybody got a lot of FaceTime with him. We had a great time. Everyone learned something from him. And him being who he is, he's just a great person to be around. We all had a fantastic time.
That's cool. And again, it's very difficult sometimes, Well, the first part of it is when you're establishing yourself as a nonprofit or any organization, having the audacity, and you say like, oh, I don't know if I'm that successful. I would say you are, because one of the things that you've overcome is you've overcome the reluctance of the cold call. Mm-hmm. That's one of the hardest parts about doing anything, particularly like in business, even in uniform, like, hey, I need you to go talk to this person at this unit. Crap, do I know anybody over there? Right? Because that's mm-hmm. usually how we figure out how we do things, is like, where's my entry point so I can do this with the least amount of friction possible. Yeah. And, after you hang up the uniform, depending upon what, organization or thing that you're chasing, oh crap, I've got to call this person. I don't know how to call this person. All right, I'm just going to give it a shot, and sometimes it leads to great success, and other times it's a colossal failure, and it's it's an opportunity to learn.
Yeah. Well, him being in active duty at the time, it created some challenges, but it also alleviated some other ones. And what I mean by that is he's busy, he's in the seat, he's doing the job. He's got to be selective and careful about what events that he attends. And there's ethics rules that guide what they can do with nonprofits. I was aware of all that. The advantage that we had with him being active duty was I also know how to make those levers work. Yeah. I had been an aide to a 3-star commander in NATO, and so working that stuff was something I knew how to do. I knew how to word the invitation in a way that was going to alleviate all those other concerns and make it easy for him to say yes. Yeah. And so I was a little surprised that we did get on his calendar, because it was so busy, and he was in the process of transitioning out, or he would have been at the time of the cruise. So the stars all lined up. Ray came along on the cruise, and we had a fantastic time. And so at that point, I felt like we did a really good job of unifying our mandate, relationship building, which was an objective that we had for Key West in particular. And having a great time. And so I think what it led to was a conversation between us and Ray and Sunset Sail Key West to do it again. And so once again, Seth at Sunset Sail Key West put up the when and if for a second time. And between myself and Ray, we decided to invite Rick Prado. So if you know who Rick is, best-selling author of Black Ops, brand ambassador for Four Branches Bourbon, and the former deputy director of the CIA's Counterterrorism Center. Rick is a pretty fantastic person in his own right, and we wanted to get to know him. So I had previous relationship with Rick through the CDF. So I called Rick and I said, "Hey man, want to come along, do this thing that Ray did, this year?" He said, "The answer is yes, I'm going to do it. However, I recommend that you call Chief Wayne Fisk and have him this year instead." And I said, "Okay, tell me about Wayne Fisk." So Wayne is kind of the spiritual leader of the PJ community, if I had a way to describe him. Wow. Like Ray Colon Lopez, he's a super charismatic and positive guy. He's got an amazing history, mostly during the Vietnam War era, Apollo program, and a few other things that he got involved in. He was the last combat soldier to see action in Vietnam, or what we call the Vietnam conflict. So he was a rescuer on the Mayaguez and that kind of drama that ensued following the Mike West incident.
Hmm.
And I asked Rick, I said, okay, yeah, I mean, he sounds amazing. I don't know Wayne Fisk personally, but it sounds like a great guy. Like, what's the deal? What's the reason? He said, well, Wayne's getting kind of old, man. He's not in great health, and we don't know how long he'll be able to travel for these sorts of things in the future. So I said, okay, I take that logic and we'll go for it. And so I started a conversation with Wayne through Rick brought up, and Wayne and I spent a lot of time on the phone because just like Rick and Ray had assured me, he's like, this is a fantastic guy. You're gonna love him. And I did. And just like Ray, I mean, he's a super positive guy. He's charismatic and he's fun to be around. He just makes everybody happy. I enjoyed talking to him over and over again on the phone as we were working up to this thing. So we had Wayne on the cruise last year. This is a long way of saying
nice.
We had Wayne Fisk. And again, I had a fantastic time with Wayne. Again, we didn't do any fundraising at the event. Again, we really bonded around it. We learned a lot. We extended the time of his remarks so that I could dig into the history with him. And his history is pretty amazing. So we had a lot to talk about. In fact, we didn't have enough time to talk about everything we wanted to cover. And just all that cool Vietnam history that we were pulling out of his past it was fun to be a part of that. Had a great time on the cruise, and we're doing it again this year. Rick Prado is going to be our guest. Very much looking forward to meeting Rick in person. We haven't met in person yet. And so it's become a thing. And the CDF Winter Cruise now is going to be part of our itinerary every year. I would tell you this. We've decided that we think we want to move it into the fundraising realm.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's probably going to be an invitation-only event this year.
Wow.
We're still working on the guest list because it's tricky. You got to get people down to Key West. It's got to work out for their schedules and their budget. And it's got to be the right people. So if we're going to do fundraising at this event, we've got some amazing donated items that we're considering auctioning off, including that bottle of whiskey that we rolled out at Soft Week.
Yeah.
That thing went for $20,000 at an auction in Houston recently.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, and again, like, I took a picture of it and sent it to my team. So the guys that I work with are all big bourbon fans, and they're like, dude, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And just the picture of itself, just sitting there on the table with the autographs and everything was cool. And it's one of those things that, like, you find yourself in a very difficult position because, to do a nonprofit correctly, you have to make sure that you're presenting the right, you're putting the best face forward. Like, and some of the, we all hear the horror, I won't say the horror stories, but I think everybody knows it's common knowledge that there's quite a few nonprofits that are veteran related that spend more of their assets paying the C-suite than they do, taking care of or contributing back to the community.
That'd be fantastic if I could actually get paid for this.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like you truly are still in the nonprofit stage because it's like everything that you do is basically rolled into the next event, which is great. But it's also, you're paying honorariums to people rather than a salary, and those honorariums can come and go based off of how well the year is going. And so that's part of the whole thing. But I think it's just, it's incredible what you do because, there's so many different organizations out there. And I know we talked about this on the previous podcast too, that, talk about, you got the Navy SEAL Foundation and the Frogman Foundation and this foundation and that foundation. But the thing is, the Combat Diver Foundation covers it all. And I think it's just a matter of visibility. And, the other part of it is like, look, if I'm going to spend, $100 a year on something, I could find a nonprofit that I know that's going to do some good with it, and I think a lot of organizations have become so big that their marketing budget basically would encompass everything that you do as a very, very small nonprofit. And that's not, and that's not a ding on you. That's just, it's just the reality of a lot of the situations that's going on. But
we'd like to do a lot more, of course. I mean, every nonprofit in our position wants to do more with towards our mandate. We're budget limited, obviously, and we're still growing. We started a corporate partnership program last year, I believe, in order to sort of differentiate or allow companies that have an interest a way to be involved and support. Because frankly, I mean, until we find a way to tap into big donors, we're gonna need a corporate hand. And so we got our first real corporate sponsor at the top level, what we call the Great White level, this year, Rhyme LLC, which does intelligence work for the government, mostly. And so Rhyme LLC actually sponsored our Soft Week event this year. They're a Great White partner of ours, which comes with certain benefits. And if you're interested in that, you can find that information on our webpage under partnerships. And so we're pretty sure Rhyme is going to sign up and do it again this year. We just had a meeting this week, and we're going to keep the same format, Soft Week. We probably will limit fundraising. Again, it's not the right venue for that. And we may or may not expand the physical size of the space that we're using. Yeah. But it's mostly going to be the same. We're going to talk about the CDF. We're going to recognize some veterans. We're going to do a little bit of fundraising, and we're going to drink a lot of alcoholic beverages.
That works. Yeah,
and have a good time.
Yeah. And for those of you that haven't gone to a CDF event, like Harpoon Harry's, it's right across the street from the venue in Tampa where they hold Soft Week, and it's very easy. Like literally, you can go walk the floor all day, and then when you're ready to go eat, walk over to Harpoon Harry's, grab some chow, and meet some combat divers. I mean, it's a small part of the. It's just like anything. It's like, hey, how many master rated people do you know? I don't know. Probably some, but not that many. How many dive soups do you know? I know a couple. I know the guys that I sent to school, or the guys that, I grew up with in the Army that, eventually made it on the dive team or joined Special Forces. But the reality of it is that number is probably just as rare as some other MOS or qualifications in the Army. And it's not publicized. And I think part of it is because of the mission set. Hey, look, like if you're doing combat diver operations, you are certainly, in the special operations realm for sure. They don't routinely like, oh yeah, like, hey, we're just going to go do this combat dive in the middle of, Lake Superior or something, like there's a reason for it. And so again, capturing the history and passing.
Well, just look at what the Israelis did yesterday. I mean, their combat divers did an operation, whether you agree with the background of that or not, it doesn't really matter. It was a very complex operation to take over a vessel at sea, and so it's relevant. And I was going to tell you, we do provide access to the right people for the right reasons. And, that includes companies that want to access combat dive community. It includes individuals that are doing research. For example, we had an Italian guy that we helped out at Soft Week this year, who's researching, knife fighting techniques. He's a martial arts guru that is interested in that stuff. And so he was looking for people that have specific knowledge. And so, we try to help connect people, but it's for the right reasons. Now you mentioned the nonprofit space and how there's nonprofits for all kinds of different things. And we're very careful to try to stay within our mandate. So our mandate is preserving heroic legacy, and that's historical preservation is what we try to focus on. We aren't in the business of supporting individual combat divers. Now that has caused some stress within the community, but there's lots of great organizations that we have outstanding relationships with, and you mentioned some of them. Green Beret Foundation, Marine Recon Foundation. Geez, I mean, the list is long. I started to mention one or two, and I said, well, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, ultimately, what it boils down to, it's the same. It's the same reason why the Combat Diver Organization exists, right?
Look, somebody's got to preserve the history, and
right?
If everybody else is focused on, passing the very, very important. Yeah, I mean, we try to work with them and not against them or not in the same
Well,
space.
I mean, I think what people have to realize is like in all things veteran related, like it's like being on a dive team or being in a swift boat team. You know, everybody has a position, everybody has a role that they have to play, and those people that play out of position typically are the guys that are overstretched and have no impact, right? So it's like, hey, if I'm trying to do 10,000 things with 5 people, I'm not going to be as successful if I just do one thing 10,000 times with those 5 people, you know? And I think it just sets and reps, but yeah. So we're getting close to the end because I got to move on to the next thing. I actually got to work today, so that's going to be interesting, but
Me too.
yeah, but I really wanted to just ping you one last time. Like, hey, are there any events coming up that we need to know about outside of the winter cruise, or any, you know, any history that we should particularly be looking for in the next year?
We're gonna look. We've got Soft Week and the Winter Cruise are on our calendar every year. We haven't done deep dive in a couple of years, which is our combat diver reunion. It's logistics heavy. And so we're taking a breather on that. And so I don't think we're going to be doing one in 2025 or 2026 either. But we will have the winter cruise. We will have Rick Prado there with us. We're starting to plan for the following year. Soft Week, we've already decided on the date. It'll be Wednesday of Soft Week, to be determined the details on that, but that's when it will be. And that's it. But look forward to seeing some specifically Rick Prado focused history come out on the socials from us. And this is stuff that you haven't heard yet. It's not necessarily in his book. I've got some amazing photos from Rick that he's authorized us to share, and we're going to tell some stories. That's awesome. Yeah, so it's going to be pretty neat in the build up to that. And so, you know, again, there's lots of ways to support us. You can become an individual member. We also have corporate partnerships. And then there's all the cool gear at the CDF store, which, you know, it gives us something to talk about, you know, let people know, hang out that flag that, you know, you support the Combat Diver Foundation, and it helps keep the lights on for us. And so, yeah, looking forward to the rest of the year. And thanks for having us on there, Rob. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it is. And as always, guys, like, look, you know, this is how the veteran community works, right? The more that we can pull people together, regardless of background, education, mission set, whatever, as long as we have that connective tissue, we're stronger working together than we are apart, you know. And it goes back to it's a very simple thing, right? If you see a guy running around with some kind of special badge or qualification, 9 times out of 10, the guy didn't do it by himself. Right. And if he tells you that he did, he's full of crap, you know. And so we know that because, like, most military schools have some collaborative effort in it. Like, yeah, there's individual grading, but you have to get by collectively as a group. And so I think that's just part of it. So, you know, in typical aquatic fashion, we all have to give way together and you know, row the boat with our particular skill set. So, like, this is my skill set. So always glad to have you on to talk about the Combat Diver Foundation. We'll put all the links and everything else in the description. This is episode number 99. I can't believe that we've made it this far in 4 years. Like,
congrats.
I probably could have been closer to 100 right now, but I'm trying to be as selective as I can without interviewing everyone. And I actually have gotten several cold hits off of LinkedIn recently. So if you're on LinkedIn and you are a veteran and you want to tell your story, please shoot me a note. We'll get you on. I've known Lino for years, so he has an unfair advantage. He has the inside track. So all he has to do is call me and I can put him on as a guest. But for those of you
30 years now, man, we're getting along in the tooth, bro.
Yeah, like literally I saw people posting pictures of like, oh my gosh, 30 years ago we graduated from college, and you're like, oh. All right. I didn't need to see that. But hey, this has been Lino Biani from the Combat Diver Foundation with Rob Robinson at Philosophy from the Frontline, episode number 99. And we will see you guys on the high ground. Thanks.
See you later, guys. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Philosophy from the Frontline. We hope today's conversation gave you valuable insights into the journey of veterans transitioning into the world of small business. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. It helps more people find us and supports our mission to empower veteran entrepreneurs. Stay connected with us on social media and visit our website for more resources, tips, and episodes. Remember, your service doesn't end when you take off the uniform. Your next mission is just beginning. Until next time, keep pushing forward, stay resilient, and turn your battle-tested skills into business success. This has been Philosophy from the Frontline, and we'll see you on the high ground. Thanks.